Today we will discuss about persuasive writing techniques and our lesson objectives. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to identify and recognize the three Aristotelian appeals, logos, pathos, and ethos, and other common persuasive techniques. Next one, explain the function and the side effect of specific persuasive techniques on an audience. And lastly, apply persuasive writing techniques effectively to construct well-supported, targeted arguments for a specific audience and purpose.
Okay, now let's talk about persuasive writing. Persuasive writing is a form of non-fiction that is designed to convince other people to accept a certain point of view or just adopting new perspective. Okay, and Aristotle, one of the famous philosopher, identified three techniques that can help us be more persuasive. Okay, so those are ethos that use credibility to persuade, pathos that use emotion to persuade, and then logos that use logic to persuade. Okay, let's start on the first technique, which is ethos that uses credibility to persuade. Now, an audiences can be more likely persuaded if they think that the speaker or writer has credibility, or in other words, it is believability, trustworthiness, or expertise. For example, a toothpaste advertisement might say that it is recommended by 4 out of 5 dentists. And the recommendation from dentists makes it more credible. Why? Because dentists are expert on that thing. Okay? And it makes your advertisement or writing more persuasive. Instead of toothpaste recommendation from pilots, teachers, janitors, or other that is not expert on that thing. And the people won't believe you, or your writing or advertisement is not persuasive because it doesn't contain credibility. Ethos can be also established according to the speaker or writer's appearance, because someone who looks credible, trustworthy, and believable can be more likely persuade an audiences than someone who doesn't. Now let's talk about Aristotle's second technique, which is pathos. And pathos is the use of emotion to persuade. And an audiences can be more likely persuaded if they have an emotional connection on a subject matter. And emotional languages is one way to do this. For example, a pet shelter might ask to donate for those starving and abandoned puppies. And the words starving and abandoned makes us feel sad, and therefore it makes us more likely to donate. And pathos is not only used to make us feel sad, but also to feel the other emotions like happy, love, so on and so forth. Also, when it comes to speeches, pathos can be established when the speaker shows emotion and passion on what they are talking about. Now let's talk about Aristotle's third technique, which is logos. And logos is the use of logic to persuade. An audiences can be more persuaded if the speaker or writer presented logical arguments, and arguments that are supported by evidence. Now let's imagine, for example, that someone makes an argument that you shouldn't pay off your boat. And you may ask why. And they tell you that 3% of boating debts are due to people trying to pay off their boat. And then because you had given that evidence, it makes the argument more persuasive. And as I said earlier, its purpose is to inform, to entertain, or for persuasive writing. And your writing can be more effective if you had the ability to balance the three appeals, which is ethos, the use of credibility to persuade, pathos, the use of emotion to persuade, and logos, the use of logic to persuade.
For the first one, this is a key structural and stylistic techniques. Beyond the appeals, persuasive writing requires specific structures and stylistic devices to maintain engagement and reinforce the message. For the structural, this is the power of strategy. For example, imagine a future where clean water is as luxury. For the stylistic techniques is devices is the flavor. This is a repetition, alliteration, metaphors, rhetorical, stylish, yung statistic, anecdotes, and trades, emotional appeal, and urgency. For the argumentative structure or the AIDA model. The AIDA model, A stands for awareness, I stands for interest, D stands for desire, and A stands for action. The AIDA model is a sequential framework designed to guide a reader through a piece of persuasive communication, moving them from initial awareness to taking a specific action. Okay, this is the table of AIDA model. This is awareness. Capture the reader's interest immediately with a strong hook. For example, did you know the average person spends 6 years of their life staring at a phone? For interest, provide compelling details and benefits about the main idea, problem, or solutions. For example, our new app, Focus Flow, yung dramatically cuts down on screen time by consolidating key communications into one clean feed, saving you precious hours every week. For desire, connect the idea to the reader's needs, emotion, or values. For example, imagine the freedom of having more time for your hobbies. Your family or simply better sleeps. Focus Flow isn't just an app. It is an investment in your well-being. For action, clearly states what the reader should do next. For example, click here to download Focus Flow and start reclaiming your time today. For rhetorical devices, these are literary techniques used to make a language more impactful, memorable, and rhythmically persuasive. Okay, for this rhetorical devices, this is alliteration, metaphor, simile, personification, ng hyperbole, imagery, repetition, symbolism, irony, anaphora. This is all about for rhetorical devices. Okay. Repetition or anaphora. Repeating a word or phrase at the being of successive clauses or sentences for rhythmic. For example, we cannot rest until every child is fed. We cannot rest until every family has a home. We cannot rest until justice prevails. Analogy and metaphor. Comparing an unfamiliar or complex idea to a familiar one, an an analogy is a detailed comparison, while a metaphor directly states one thing is another. For example, the company's bureaucracy is an ocean liner. Analogy: it has a takes immense effort and time just to change course. Whereas startup is a speedboat. This is a metaphor.
In persuasive writing, it can also use rhetorical devices like rhetorical questions. So when we say rhetorical questions, it is questions posed for dramatic effect or to prompt the reader to agree with the writer's underlying premises rather than the literal answer. And they are used to engage the reader and to make them think and create curiosity. For example, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? In this rhetorical question, it creates a sense of responsibility and encourage the reader to take an actions. So the next one is juxtaposition and antithesis. So when we say juxtaposition, it is placing of two contrasting ideas, images, words or clauses side by side to highlight their differences. While antithesis, it is a balance and parallel structures of contrasting ideas. And these are the two powerful techniques that is used in persuasive writing to highlight contrast and emphasis. Like for example, it was the best time, it was the worst time. So in juxtaposition, the words best time and worst time placed side by side that highlight the contrast between prosperity and hardship. While in antithesis, the balance of opposing ideas, best versus worst. And the last one is counter-argument and refutation. Addressing opposing viewpoints is a powerful strategy that demonstrates credibility or ethos and strengthen your primary arguments or logos by proactively dealing with objections. This approach shows your audience that you're aware of different perspectives and are willing to engage with them. When it comes to persuasive writing, acknowledging the opposing viewpoint can actually strengthen your argument. This is where concession and refutation comes in. So when we say concession, it is briefly and respectfully acknowledging the validity or specific viewpoints of the counter-argument. This shows that the writer is reasonable and has considered all sides. By doing so, you shows your audience that you have considered multiple perspectives. For example, you might start with a concession. While it is true that solar panel represent a significant initial investment, this shows that you're aware of the potential drawbacks and are willing to engage with them. By acknowledging opposing viewpoint, you build credibility and trust with your audiences. But concession is just the first step. The real magic happens with refutation. So when we say refutation, it is immediately disproving, weakening, and providing an overriding perspective to the conceded counterpoint by using stronger evidence, logic, and of course, reinforce your own argument. In the case of the solar panel, you might follow up with something like, for example, the overwhelming long-term benefit of energy independence and the government tax credit clearly negate the initial concern within the first 5 ownership. By combining concession and refutation, you demonstrated your thoughtfully considered alternative perspective and you still believe that your argument is the best one. So, those are the techniques in persuasive writing.